Welcome to Wisdom for the Wilderness, a weekly podcast by the pastors of Overland Church. We talk about the Bible, theology, and a lot of times cultural issues. And today we're going to be talking about a major issue in our culture, and that is gambling.
That's right.
And particularly sports gambling.
Yeah.
Because it is that time of the year. At this point, college football has kicked off and NFL has kicked off. And every week, people are constantly getting the message put in front of them, hey, bet on this.
Yeah.
Bet 360, FanDuel, like just constantly sports gambling is being put in front of us.
Yeah. I mean, the commercials on the games, the ads in the ESPN app, I mean, it's just everywhere. And it's amazing because it was just a few years ago that this was illegal. And then it was made legal nationwide. Right. And now the growth in the gambling industry has been astronomical over the last several years.
Yeah. Well, 2023, it was $120 billion. 2024, $150 billion. So it grew by $30 billion in 1 year.
Yeah.
So 2025, you've got to think, man, it could hit 180, 190, $200 billion on sports betting. There's no telling what happens this year. So, man, really crucial time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I grew up loving baseball. I mean, I was obsessed with baseball, the history of baseball. My favorite movie was Field of Dreams. And of course, Field of Dreams is about the Black Sox that had their World Series revoked because of they bet on their own games and they threw the World Series. And then, of course, it was also the period where everybody was still sore about Pete Rose.
Right.
And
people are still sore about Pete Rose, by the way.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was very black and white growing up that betting on baseball, betting on sports in general. And I'm growing up in Kentucky, where horse racing is part of the culture.
Gambling on animals running around a track is pretty normal.
Yeah, but betting in sports was absolutely unthinkable because of all the different consequences that you see, and especially athletes betting on their own sports. And we're seeing these same situations come up time and time again right now.
Oh yeah,
of players and people involved in the sports getting in trouble because they can't stop themselves from betting on their own sports. And we have to ask the question, is it affecting their performance? How much is what they're doing on the court or on the field affected? So, I mean, it's just all of these things. I couldn't have imagined in the 90s and early 2000s that we would be back here again. There was a history to it. There was a reason why it was illegal. And now here we are again thinking, it'll be different this time.
Right, yeah. Right, it'll be different. So have you ever heard anybody like criticize the church? And they'll like look at the church and say, if the church just spent all their money instead of building that new building, if the church spent their money on the homeless or the unhoused, like it would solve the problem. You ever heard anybody?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So listen to this. So for people who are critical of the church and how they spend their money, $150 billion. $150 billion. You could develop homeless programs that totaled like spending $190,000 a year on each homeless person, right? The unhoused. You could house them for 16 years.
Wow.
Like, you to do the math, and people are talking about solving the problem. Here's your simple one. If that's you, instead of gambling this week, just give it to somebody to help the program to help the unhoused. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. And is that $150 billion? How much is spent on gambling, or the profits from gambling?
That's how much spent.
Okay.
So
so that's how many. That's the money that's put down.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, some people are making money and losing money, and Vegas, Vegas always wins.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I know there's months where Vegas has lost. Vegas has had a bad month. When I say
Yeah.
Vegas, I mean the bookies.
Yes.
Those, there's been there's been gambling agencies that have taken hits, but generally speaking, there would be no gambling
Yes.
by lotteries, by casinos, by these sports betting online companies if they didn't win. And they are, which means if they win, guess what that means? It means you lose.
Yes. That's right.
It means you're losing and your neighbor's losing. So as we begin to talk about this, I think first, at first let's look at this just like culturally the problem that it is.
Yeah.
Then let's look at that biblically what the Bible says and where the
Right.
wisdom comes from.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that you're going to find out about sports gambling is that it affects the 18 to 30-year-old male
Mm.
most.
Right.
Most, the biggest age of guys that they're losing money and that money is having a very negative effect on them.
Mm.
And the loss of that money is 18 to 30-year-olds. Now, it
Yeah.
just so happens we have a few of those in our church.
That's right.
And, there's been times where I've brought it up every time I bring it up in church. I mean, I almost always see women's elbows start moving.
Mm.
They just start moving to the side. They're putting it right into the rib of their of husbands.
Yes.
But multiple times I brought it up, and I've had young guys come up to me and go, "You know what? I'd never thought about it. I'd
Yeah.
never been told that, hey, this is unwise. I shouldn't do it." And it's been a problem.
It's not a conversation that is happening in most churches, in most campus ministries. We're talking about pornography. We're talking about a lot of other temptations, but gambling has been one of those things that the church has started to be silent on. And so, if you're 18 years old, the likelihood of you ever hearing a spiritual leader address the issue is almost zero.
Right. Well, 18 to 30-year-olds in a national poll, 10% of men scored as problem gamblers. So in
Mhm.
18 to 30-year-olds, 1 in 10 is a problem gambler. That's more than 3 times the rate of the general population.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's an issue. We got 10 guys in our church. One of them's statistically speaking struggling with gambling. So people who engage in sports gambling, there's a much higher likelihood that they're in credit card debt. They
Mm.
deal with overdrafts, loan delinquencies, that debt collections, bankruptcies. Then
Yes.
within all of these things, people who gamble's credit score typically is several points
Mm.
lower, which is going to matter when that you go get a home loan. It's going to matter the interest rate that you get, while somebody else is saving hundreds of dollars a month because their credit score
Yep.
is better. And
And-
so it affects you in ways that maybe you didn't think about.
The gambling industry, however, is going to say it's gaming. It's
It's
gaming.
gaming.
It's just a game.
Right.
It's a game with money, and
Which-
it's a game that you're going to lose.
Right. Which I'm pretty sure, and I don't know a lot about this, but I'm pretty sure like within the gaming world, the video game world, there's gambling that's happening now.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't know. I'm too old on
I'm
this
just
one.
Twitch, whatever, the live streaming
Okay.
Twitch, that there's even things where they're like people are live streaming as they're placing bets or they're playing video
Mm.
games. They're watching people playing video games and betting on other people playing video games.
Yeah.
So people are gambling on all sorts of things. It really changes a lot of folks' futures. Matter of fact, if you're taking a man who's leaving his 20s, and they've both been in the workforce, there's a, statistically speaking, as they begin investing in retirement,
Hmm.
the one who doesn't gamble's retirement investments are 14% higher
Yeah.
than the one that does.
14%.
14. Think about what that does at
Yeah.
retirement age.
Wow.
By the way, here's like some wisdom and a life hack. When you're in your early 20s and start pouring into retirement, that money matters a lot.
Yeah.
You want to invest early on as much as you can because that gives that all that years of ROI.
Uh-huh.
And so when people start like really paying attention to their retirement in their 30s and 40s, like you're 10 years too late. I don't want to be negative. You should continue to you should do it
Yep.
anyway. But starting investing
Yeah.
for retirement is important early on.
Shout out to 8 Money Milestones. We had that this past summer. We'll be having it again
Yeah.
at some point. You need to take it. And if we can add a 9th money milestone, it's don't gamble.
Right? Listen, if you haven't taken 8 Money Milestones, you should take it. It's great, but especially, and this is just a life hack. This is real wisdom. Those who are graduating high school, graduating college, starting those first jobs, take 8 Money Milestones, do those things, and you will be a good steward of what God has given you. And he who's faithful with little will one day be faithful with a lot.
Amen.
And so, don't gamble. It's a real problem and it's a real addiction.
Yeah.
And I've watched it ruin real people's lives. Problem gambling, it shares the same thing as other addictions to drugs, to pornography. One of the things that it has a negative effect on is risk mitigation. And it even changes the way that your brain works as you begin to experience the risk, because there's a rush and a high to it, especially when you win.
Yes.
And then your brain wants to repeat that, I want to win.
Yep.
And then when people go on a losing streak, they crash. And listen, people who gamble, 14% of sports bettors report experiencing suicidal thoughts.
Wow.
10% report attempting suicide. Right? So your depression is going to go up as you lose, and you're going to lose.
Yeah.
You're going to lose. As you lose, your depression's going to go up. Your thoughts of harming yourself and suicide. Often suicide happens because they've created some sort of hole that they can't dig themselves out of.
Yep.
And so, man, I know of a story where this was before online betting was legal, where a man was doing, he loved going to casinos. I need to bring up casinos later, but he loved going to casinos, and somewhere in there he met a bookie where he's doing some gambling online, and he gets himself into big debt, like big debt. And of course, this isn't all above board, right?
Right.
And so there are people coming for him, and they're going to out him. And so he figures out a way to pay his debt. And it has basically, he is a manager at a factory, and he started taking train loads of product and selling it to the mafia.
Wow.
And literally, they're like, oh, they're not going to miss a transfer truck here or train load here, and they're sending them places like. And he begins getting paid these like massive sums, like $125,000 a pop from the mafia. He gets involved with the mafia so that he can pay off his gambling debt. And this is somebody that I know. And do you think his marriage made it through that?
Nope.
Do you think his kids respected him? Do you think he went to jail because he went to jail?
Yeah.
Right? You know, he got caught. Not only did he go to jail, the mafia wanted his head too.
Yeah.
And so you're like, that sounds extreme. Well, yeah, it is an extreme case, but it is literally like
a normal guy.
A normal guy.
Yep.
A normal guy. A guy that at one time I would show up to prayer meeting and pray and love the Lord and wanted his family to be in church.
Yeah.
And he ends up in a mess.
Yeah.
Because of an addiction to gambling. And he got in a hole. And so, it may sound extreme, but dude, don't think that kind of thing can't happen to you.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
it's just like when I talk about drugs, no one wakes up one morning and says, hey, I'm going to do meth today. It started with a decision most of the time to drink alcohol or smoke pot.
Yep.
And one thing led to another, and that's where it ended up. And so I would just tell you, wisdom says, and we'll get to sin,
Yeah.
but wisdom says that the system is out to get you.
Yeah.
Let me bring up casinos real quick. A lot of companies that are involved in casinos also have an online gambling, on betting and
Mhm.
sports betting. Sports betting, there can be some reasoning to it.
Yeah.
You can look at the odds. You can going back to horses. You can look at a horse and go,
Yeah.
that horse has done really well, and
Yep.
I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm
I
gonna
know about that
parlay it or
trainer.
whatever.
I
Know about
know.
the trainer,
Yeah.
right? Sports teams. There's some stuff that you're like, oh, that spread there. I can
Yeah.
cover that spread. Once you get the casino, so much of the casino is purely
Luck.
yeah, random. It's a randomness to it
Yep.
that, somebody's going to win, but most people aren't.
Mhm.
The system is set up to hurt you. So here's the reality that reports show that casinos, if the ones who are involved in online sports betting, that when they could lose money on online sports betting, but when they get you into the casino, there is a 500% return on their investment.
Yeah.
Once they get
Yeah.
you in the casino, it's a 500% return on their investment.
Yeah.
So it's aimed to get you there.
Yeah.
Casinos, by whatever regulating board they have to have a certain payout. But
Mm.
what a lot of casinos figured out, and I remember this to be true of one casino that I knew of, they figured out it was just easier to keep it rigged and pay the fine.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it's rigged in such a way, the algorithms are such a way that it's going to give you that high early on. So you're going to win something early on, you're going to get that high, and then they're going to take you.
Yep.
And that's an absolute design of the place.
Of the place, yeah. It's going to get you. Here's another thing I'll say about casinos. When you see them move into a community, they're never good for the community.
Yeah.
My wife, in her hometown, they just built a casino, and the area that they built the casino in is becoming impoverished.
Yep.
It's bad, and the actual physical casino isn't built. I think they're still in like one of those blow up, inflatable kind of tents or whatever. And the community around it is already being diminished and hurt by it.
Yeah.
And what's the, and we can really kind of start turning here to some very clear biblical principles. But who is typically hurt by gambling? Is it wealthy people?
No, it's the weakest, it's the poorest.
It's the poor. That's who's hurt the most by it. And so it preys on and makes its money on marginalized societies.
Yeah.
The most marginalized people, the poorest people, is who it preys on.
Yeah.
And I've always found it interesting where lotteries pay for education.
Yeah.
I was in Georgia. We had the Hope Scholarship. I have years of education paid for by people's gambling addiction. I didn't think of it this way at the time.
Yeah.
But what you begin to see is that the poorest, uneducated people who gamble end up paying for the better off, or sometimes rich kids in society to go to college.
That's right.
It's kind of wild to think about. So, man, how does the Bible speak to how we care for the marginalized?
Well, I mean, the first thing that I think we need to admit is you can't find a verse in the Bible that says thou shalt not gamble. So it's not there. Right. So what we're looking at is biblical principles that apply to the issue. And of course, gambling is as old as humanity. It's not something new. Like, there's new ways we're doing it. But, even at the foot of the cross, the Roman soldiers were gambling over Jesus's robe. So, I mean, it's been around forever.
And there's a casting lots. And there's a way to cast lots over something that's not sinful.
Right.
where are we going to go to lunch today? We're going to go to Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, or Taco Bell.
Let's flip a coin.
Right,
I mean,
well, it's
that's
not
the same
Taco
type
Bell.
of thing. Yeah.
So let's flip a coin. Let's
Yes.
cast lots to see if it's Raising Cane's or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, but it's when money becomes involved in those games of chance or in the sporting events and that kind of thing that we're talking about. And so there's no 11th commandment, but I think we can clearly take principles from Scripture, apply it to this situation, and see this is not a good idea for Christians to be involved in. And you asked me before the show started whether or not I thought gambling is a sin. I think it is. I wouldn't mind disagreeing with someone who'd say, no, it's not a sin, it's just unwise. But at the end of the day, I think we all have to at least agree that it's unwise, even if you don't think it's a sin itself.
Right.
So I have 5 arguments against gambling. And the first argument is the stewardship argument. I think that's a pretty simple one to understand. God gives us a certain amount of resources that we're supposed to steward for his glory.
Yeah.
And throwing money away, playing with money, is not good stewardship of the resources that God has given you.
Right. Proverbs 21:20 says, precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it.
Yeah.
And a foolish man devours the resources God has given him. And gambling risk what God has entrusted to you to steward at a game of chance.
Yes. Ephesians 4:28, let the thief no longer steal, but rather let him labor doing honest work with his own hands, so that he may have something to share with anyone in need. So God gives you money from your labor to meet your own needs, the needs of your family, and then to meet the needs of others. So using money beyond that is throwing it away, playing with it, gambling with it. Yeah. It's not using the Lord's resources well.
I think about the parable of the talents, and faithful servants invest God's money wisely. They don't make unwise investments. I think about in Luke 16, the parable of the dishonest manager and how he handled money shrewdly.
Yeah.
But wrongly.
Yes.
And what did Jesus say? That parable, those who are faithful with little will be faithful with much. And so for those who are like, well, I only gamble a little bit. I only put a little bit of money towards it. Well, put that money towards something else.
Yeah. Put it towards missions, and the Lord will reward you.
Right.
For that. So, I mean, that's the gamble I want to take.
Right.
It's the guarantee. So,
yeah, if I've got money that I'm going, I don't need this, I'm going to give it away. Well, let me support a missionary. Let me, we send it to, we have a heart for orphan care in Ethiopia. Let's send it there. Let's send it to Compassion International.
That's right.
We're not even making a ploy here to give it to the church. We're saying, find a missionary, give it to Sean.
That's right.
Find somebody, send it to Durango. Invest it for the kingdom, not in.
Yeah. You're going to feel a lot better too.
Right.
Yeah.
You sure are.
Yeah. So my second argument is the wisdom argument, and we've touched on this. Gambling is unwise because the house always wins. And the Bible speaks time and time again against get-rich-quick schemes. So Proverbs 13:11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will have it. Proverbs 20:21, an inheritance gained hastily in the beginning will not be blessed. And it's just time and time again, Proverbs warns us, like, if it sounds too good to be true,
it probably
is. It's not going to last. And then the third argument that I have is the greed argument. So people say, well, it's just a form of entertainment. Well, let's kind of dissect that for a second. Why is it entertaining for you? What is it that's fueling? What kind of human desire is it working on to make you feel good, to have entertainment?
Yeah.
And that is greed.
Right.
That's the human desire that it's fueling, and we know greed is not good. Greed is sinful.
Yeah, it's the love of money. is part of that, right?
Yeah.
Those who desire to be rich fall into temptation. They fall into a snare. The love of all money is the root of all kinds of evil.
Yeah.
And which brings up, that thou shalt not covet,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a sin. It causes covetousness. It
Yeah.
causes us to covet.
Yeah. And that's what it's playing off of. That's why it's entertaining, is because it's playing off of that sinful desire. And in the same way, somebody could say, well, I like going to the strip club because it's entertainment. Well, yeah, it's entertainment, but why is it entertaining? Because it's playing off your sinful desire of lust, and gambling is doing the same exact thing off of the sinful desire of greed.
Yeah, to covet.
And so fourth argument would be the predation argument. You talked about this. Gambling is a predatory industry. We call it a stupidity tax.
Right.
It's a tax on people who are too stupid to realize that they're going to be taken.
Yeah. Proverbs 22:16 says, whoever oppresses the poor to increase his own wealth will only come to poverty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a reality that Christians are called to care and love the vulnerable.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, we should, for the sake of the poor, we should want gambling to be illegal.
Yeah. That's right.
There's things like payday lending
Mm.
where you can, go and borrow money against the paycheck that's going to come out at a very
Right.
high interest rate, and it's predatory in nature.
Yes.
Those places are often they're right beside liquor stores,
Yeah.
right?
That's right.
And they're preying on the poor, the oppressed,
Yeah.
the abused, and so just the same nature. We shouldn't.
It's one thing when it's private industry doing this. It's a totally different level, I think, when our state governments get into lottery and gambling and see it as a positive thing for the state government, because we know Romans 13 that the government is supposed to protect the poor, is supposed to stand against the wrongdoer. But then when the government is actually taking part in consuming the weakest of its citizens and stripping them of their wealth, then the government itself becomes predatory, and
Right.
it's wrong and it's inhumane, and we ought to stand against it.
Yeah. And I just want to point this out. And I think this is true, very true in Colorado with its lottery, also true with the legalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
That they, on the front end, they'll make a promise that we're introducing this way to make money, but it's going to benefit education. It's going to benefit the school system. And to begin with, it does.
Yeah.
And then over time, politicians get their hands into it.
Yes.
Until to the point of it's not doing what it originally intended, and that is true in every case, in every scenario. That's what happens. So that's a.
They're not just going to leave a big pot of tax money or benefits from the lottery alone. They're going to end up taking that for things it was never intended
to do.
for.
That's right.
And then the last argument is a little more like worldview, philosophical, and that is the economic argument. But I think it's very important because the argument coming in when they want to legalize gambling is, well, people are going to gamble anyways. If it's illegal, then we're not going to be getting the benefits, the tax money, the growth to the economy, the jobs. So why don't we just make it legal? And that's going to be better economically. And that's just an empty argument, because capitalism is a philosophy that is I think it's a biblical philosophy. To go back to the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet what belongs to your neighbors. The foundations of capitalism and private property are right there in the first books of the Bible.
Right.
And so the Bible does not teach a communistic way of thinking. Even in the New Testament, in Acts, where they are sharing everything, have everything in common, they're doing that voluntarily. And you have Ananias and Sapphira who get killed. And what does Peter say? They lied about how much they sold their property for and gave it to the church, and they kept some of it back. And Peter said, while it was yours, you could have kept it. It was your private property.
Right.
So the Bible is capitalistic in viewpoint. It's not communistic. And the foundation of capitalism is that true industry creates products of value, and gambling does not create any product of value like Tesla creates products, or even services that we have in our, somebody cleaning your house or something that's creating a product of value. All that gambling is doing is transferring money from the have-nots to the haves. And it is not creating real economic value. And that's why you're saying when a casino comes into an area, it doesn't build up that area. It builds up the casino.
Right.
But if you look at the actual area,
Tears
it's going to destroy it. It's going to strip all the wealth from that and transfer it to the owners of the casino. It's not economically beneficial to the communities that it's a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, what a great and important conversation. And it's one I'm glad we have, and I'm sure we could talk more on it, but we probably need to land the plane. So, Josh, in kind of what are your parting words of wisdom today?
Don't start. Don't ever even start. You get that ad, just make it a principle of your life. You're never going to place a bet. You're never going to buy a lottery ticket. I made that decision when I was young. When I turned 18, friends were buying lottery tickets. I went on a cruise. I could have gambled on the cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been in my life a line I would not cross.
Right.
And I think you'd be a lot better off if you made that commitment when you're young.
Yeah. Amen. I've spent exactly $1 on lottery tickets, and there's a funny story behind it. There was a point to it. I got caught up one time at work, and these guys were gambling on NASCAR, and you put $20 every week, and you drew a number, and whoever's number finished highest got the pot. And the first time I did it, I won. And I never did it again. And I walked away with like $160 or something. But all those men were really, really mad at me because I won, and that's it. That's my gambling experience right there. Never placed a sports bet, never been in a casino, would never even dream of it, would never, man, it's just so unwise. Yes. And man, I just so want to steward my money well. Yeah. I'm pretty tight. And too, it took a lot to make that money. I'm not going to waste that money.
That's right.
Here's mine, and it's really to apply the principle of love your neighbor as yourself. And so just know that when you're placing that bet, you're taking somebody else's money if you win.
Yeah.
And what if the person on the other end who made that bet that you just won against, it just put them in a spot now where they're having suicidal thoughts. Yeah. And maybe even kill themselves. Yeah. Do you want to contribute to that? So no, think ahead and go, I'm going to love my neighbor as myself. Yeah. I don't want to lose money. I'm not going to take anybody else's money. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today to Wisdom for the Wilderness. This is one that I'd ask you to share it. Yeah. I'd ask you to share it on social media, to put it out there. I think this is an important conversation. Share this with the people in your life. Share it via text message, social media, whatever, because I really do believe it's important. Hey, if you have any questions for us, just email us at wisdom@overlandchurch.org. We'd love to answer your questions as we dive into things about the Bible and theology and culture. Hey, again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. God bless.